Welcome back, AP World. We have video 13 for you today. This one is on the Qin and Han Dynasties, two very important dynasties in ancient China. So let's start off with the Qin Dynasty. This was founded in 221 BCE by Qin Shihuangdi, which means the first emperor, and he became the first emperor at that time. And his dynasty lasted for 14 years, so it was incredibly short-lived, but there are many significant achievements you should be familiar with. He helped establish centralized rule. Remember, China was kind of going through a chaotic period and it wasn't under one centralized government. That all changes with the Qin Dynasty. And much of China was divided into provinces and districts under this rule. You can see all these different provinces and districts here. That is a common theme that we have studied with different empires so far. And under this dynasty, the infrastructure was built, such as roads, defensive walls. Circle defensive walls for me, please. Those are going to pop up, especially in the north, that will kind of be a prelude to the Great Wall. Now, Shihuangdi And Censorship, he was not a fan of anybody saying negative things about him. He was a little sensitive there. So dissenters were executed, and a dissenter is somebody who criticizes or speaks out against you. So anybody who criticized Shihuangdi would be executed. He also ordered the burning of books about philosophy, history, and literature, anything that could potentially speak out or challenge his rule. And he once buried 460 scholars alive for criticizing him. This dude just did not care. If you weren't on board with him, you were the enemy and you would be punished severely. So how did he centralize the government? Well, laws, currencies, and weights were standardized. Before him, they varied by region. So there would be different laws for different regions, different currencies, weights, and measures. And if you think back to early American history, under the Articles of Confederation, every state had its own currency, and that discouraged trade and really hurt the economy. So having one currency is going to make it easier for trade. He also standardized common script, which means language. So this will increase communication between regions too. All right, Shihuangdi's tomb. This thing is absolutely amazing. Take a look at this picture. You can see his tomb was excavated in 1974. 700,000 people helped build this tomb. Now, I live in Buffalo. It's got around 250, 300,000 people. So you're looking at almost 3 times as many people as the population of Buffalo are working on this tomb. It is absolutely insane and staggering, the number of people. There is a life-size terracotta army inside his tomb. You can see the people here, but here's a close-up. Look at the detail of these soldiers here. There are thousands of them that were created. And this, as I mentioned, was excavated in 1974. So only recently was Shihuangdi's tomb discovered. All right, let's jump over to the Han Dynasty. This lasted for over 400 years, so much longer than the Qin Dynasty, and it was founded by Liu Bang. From 206 BCE to 220 CE is when the Han Dynasty was around. That's not how long Liu Bang lived for, that's the Han Dynasty. So the major city was Chang'an, and this is the city where emperors ruled from. And if you look here, you're going to see some defensive walls that were built as well. And this is the cultural capital of China. And like many other empires, they had defensive walls protecting the city. That's another common thread we keep coming back to, is these defensive walls. If you're writing an essay about any of these old empires from period 2, make sure you discuss defensive walls. They were found pretty much everywhere as a way to protect their cities and their territory. And the empire was split into districts ruled by officials chosen by the emperor. So you have this large empire that is divided up into districts or provinces or whatever it may be, ruled by other government officials. So Han Wudi is a famous emperor you should know. He was in power from 141 to 87 BCE, and he expanded the empire into Korea and Vietnam. So there will be some cultural diffusion going on in Korea and Vietnam. And he will also spread Confucianism. So there's a lasting impact of Confucianism hundreds of years later. He defeated these nomadic people to the north of China, located in the green. And he also introduced the civil service exam. Circle civil service exam for me. Wicked important. What this means is government officials were chosen based on merit, how smart you were, how well you could do the job, not who you know. So it's based on what you know, not who you know. And this is going to influence China for a very long time. So some other aspects of the Han Dynasty you should be familiar with. The Silk Roads are very important during this time. This connected China to the Roman Empire and even India and Europe. I mean, you name it, it connected Afro-Eurasia here, and that will lead to a huge increase in trade and cultural diffusion and even some syncretism going on there. The Han Dynasty also invented paper around 100 CE, so things could be written down and disseminated much more quickly. And they also calculated the number of days per year at 365 and a quarter, which is what they actually are. And they were able to figure this out a long time ago. So let's talk about Ban Zhao. She was a Chinese historian and scholar and the author of one of the more well-known Chinese books, Lessons for Women. And this reinforced Confucianism and the idea of filial piety, which we talked about in a previous video. And this would make a great potential excerpt for a multiple choice question. Be able to know that Lessons for Women reinforces Confucianism and filial piety and that patriarchy that we've discussed. So the Yellow Turban Rebellion and the end of the Han Dynasty we're going to focus on now. In 184 CE is when the Yellow Turban Rebellion occurred. And this is associated with Taoist societies. And this rebellion occurred due to issues of land distribution. There were a lot of peasants that did not have land, and that's going to lead to issues, as we'll see other examples throughout history. And that will be crushed, but shortly later, the Han Dynasty will come to an end due to conflicts between different factions or groups of people in China. All right, let's do a quick recap. The Qin Dynasty, Shihuangdi, know him, know his advancements, know things that occurred under his leadership, centralized rule, infrastructure, and things that he standardized as well, such as script and measurements. For the Han Dynasty, no defensive walls, no the expansion into Korea and Vietnam, the civil service exam, oh so important for Chinese history, and the Silk Roads, which we'll talk about in a future video. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you back here for video number 14, Civilizations in the Americas. That's Mesoamerica, that's Andean South America, and North America as well. We got 3 good civilizations to break down. Thanks for watching. Best of luck this year, and have a good day.